Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. We're here today to talk about some interesting topics about intelligent automation. From our perspective, we get quite a lot of clients, customers and prospective customers ask us about what intelligent automation is, and some customers who have done something with RPA and they're then looking at what's next and what is intelligent automation and what does that mean for their organization. So I thought it'd be good to get together with Wayne. I'll let him introduce himself in a second, and we can have a conversation about what intelligent automation is and all the technologies surrounding this topic, and hopefully give you an insight to improve your knowledge and hopefully make the unknown a bit more known. So Wayne, if you want to introduce yourself, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks very much for having me, Harrison. I've seen some of your other videos and I wanted to get involved. Obviously, as someone who's known you for a while, and obviously I've been in the automation space for a while, so really good to collaborate. And yeah, really pleased to be involved in the conversation.
Thanks. Great. So I think one of the main topics that or one of the main questions that we get asked, at least from a lot of our customers who have been doing quite a lot with RPA, they've built a center of excellence and they've got some automation in place in the business, is what is intelligent automation and why should I care? So I was keen to get your thoughts on what exactly intelligent automation is, and why should businesses actually care once they've done RPA.
It's a question I get asked a lot as well, and I guess the easiest way to describe what I would see as the role of RPA within an organization is that RPA is very good at automating handwork. And you're like, okay, so imagine the types of things that you are doing with your hands when you're in the office, right? You're moving your mouse, you're typing away, copying, pasting, moving data. Like, that is your handwork.
Yeah.
RPA is amazing at handwork, but guess what? For the vast majority of tasks that we do, we don't just blindly use our hands. We're using other senses. We're using other capabilities. And in my view, intelligent automation is what I class as headwork. So imagine then, if it's headwork, what that involves. You've got your eyes, you've got your ears, you've got your brain, you've got your ability to communicate, to listen, to understand, to make decisions.
Yeah.
And so the role of intelligent automation is to combine the handwork, which RPA is so good at, with the headwork, which is where the intelligence kind of comes into. And I think that's probably the best way of describing the role of IA, is to complement the handwork with some more complex tasks that you can complete.
Okay. And so is with intelligent automation, is that often the same product, just a bit more advanced? Are there different organizations that are doing, do they have different intelligent automation products compared to some of the RPA products we see on the market, or are they done by the same people? Because I know going through that transformational phase of implementing these technologies into their organizations, a lot of businesses are bombarded by options, and we know that there are loads of RPA vendors out there now, and there's so many options. Where does an organization go, and who do they look to for that? And can it be done in one place?
I guess my initial view is, can you do everything with one tool? My general go-to answer is no. And the reason I'll say that is jack of all trades, master of none. And some of the stuff that we're expecting these technologies to do is pretty cutting edge, right? It is extremely specialized. And if you want to do 4, 5, 6 different things that are highly specialized, unless you've got a huge R&D budget, unless you're a Microsoft, unless you're an Amazon or a Google, you're just not going to have the R&D to be an expert in all of these individual things. So, in short, is there a single tool to do probably everything that you might expect within an intelligent automation collection of technologies? Probably not. But are there tools that combine a couple of the capabilities? Absolutely. Probably the more interesting segue into this question, I guess, is, well, when you said these capabilities, like, what do you actually mean? And I guess I kind of gave some of it away when I spoke about headwork. So if you imagine, let's break that down. Okay, so your digital worker, copy, pasting, all your hands, that's your RPA. And you've got your BAU of RPA, and as you say, you've got a load of other vendors in that space as well. The next one is probably OCR, or intelligent character recognition, whatever you want, basically the eyes.
Yeah.
And for your structured, unstructured documents, anything from an invoice to an application form to Siri just talking about UiPath. How funny! Hey, I'm the technology king, right?
So, yeah.
Siri, no more. Just trying to steal the limelight from me because I didn't mention Apple before. Apologies. So you've got you've got your OCR, that's anything from an invoice to a passport. Okay. But OCR again is a 20-year-old technology. So is that really classed as intelligent? Probably not. But when you start to think about some of the other machine vision capabilities that are out there, so something like Microsoft's facial recognition API, that can tell you the age, sex, even how somebody is potentially looking or feeling, whether or not this passport or driving license looks authentic, as in, are they wearing a hat, glasses, and a fake beard? Probably not going to work.
Yeah.
If you start to think about the process that you're trying to maybe automate in that space, RPA, gathering data, putting it in front of an OCR to extract information from a passport, using a facial recognition API to check whether the photo looks legitimate and whether the age of the photo matches the likely age of the person within some kind of boundary. Suddenly you've taken a process that you could not automate using RPA. Nada is not possible to automate using RPA. With a couple of technologies that are very complementary, suddenly you've got a KYC, anti-money laundering, fraud task, part of a process that now you are able to automate. So that's your eyes. Next one's probably language. Okay, so again, we know that RPA is a technology very good with structure, needs structured data.
Yeah.
It can't read per se. It can match. Okay, you can maybe use a bit of fuzzy logic to match something that's almost identical, but really it can't read a sentence and interpret it. So you need to start thinking about reading. And if you think about the role that we in an organization have, I know I spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day in front of my inbox reading, right? So again, it is an absolute necessity to have a technology that can read and interpret like we do as workers, because the vast majority of the work that we do does not come in a structured form or in 3 lines in an Excel. It just doesn't come like that. We've evolved, we work in structured data all of the time. So this ability to read and using NLP in order to do that, extremely useful. I would actually say that NLP is probably the most transformational of the intelligent automation stack. If you get the right NLP technology and you deploy it in the right way on the right process, I think this is the big enabler for a lot of organizations where RPA potentially has got it's got a shelf life. They're not structured enough for RPA to work very well. And I know a couple of clients where NLP has significantly accelerated their ability to use RPA. This is not instead of, this is a complementary technology that feeds structure into a technology that craves it. So those two alone, I think, are not the panacea for everything, but really important. And then I think if you start to think about some of the more complex processes that we complete, again, RPA is really good at following structured rules. But you know what? Everything we do might not be as simple as if, then, or else. And so you need another technology to help RPA make really complex decisions. And you've got the concept of AutoML. You've got tools like Rainbird who do, they almost codify knowledge to help you make decisions. And these are the types of tools where AI Fabric from UiPath is basically being created to enable these really complex decision-making processes, these algorithmic models, to be plugged into RPA directly so that you can make really complex decisions. And again, that complex decision feeds the answer to RPA, and RPA just does the do. It acts on the decision that something really complex in that intelligent automation spectrum has made. And then I think the last thing really is conversational AI. So again, we spend our time conversing. We converse in natural language, sometimes speech, sometimes text. We live by communicating with each other. And sometimes that is a very unstructured email, and sometimes that's a conversation via the phone, via instant messaging, online chat, etc., etc. So if you think about, you've got your handwork, copy paste, you've got your look, you've got your think, you've got your read and understand, and you've got your converse. Suddenly you've gone from the ability to move around data to a full digital worker, and that digital worker is what I would class as intelligent automation. When you bring all of those technologies together, you've created individual capabilities that mimic a larger proportion of the work that we do in the enterprise.
Great. It's really interesting to hear about the different aspects of it. I think people see it almost as one-dimensional sometimes in intelligent automation or RPA, and they don't see it as a complement of various technologies. So that kind of leads me on to the next question that we get asked, and I think it follows on nicely from that around what is the best next step for once a company has successfully implemented RPA, what technology should they look at next?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the sort of the OCR? Is it the conversational AI piece? How would you sort of go about deciding that?
It's a simple answer is to understand the business and understand the problems that are still remaining in the business. And actually, a lot of companies that have already deployed RPA, they've already got the answer. They're just not interpreting the data in the right way to be able to understand what that answer is. The beauty of RPA is that a process is either relevant for RPA or it's not.
Yeah.
And what you need to do is you need to look at all those processes where you've said, nah, RPA is not going to work for this, and understand why. Okay, what was the reason why RPA couldn't do this process? It's because I need to look at this. Because it comes in via an unstructured email. It's because actually it's kicked off in our IVR via a voice conversation. So you probably already have the answer. You just haven't necessarily looked at it through the right lens. And I think that's where that's usually the next step that you need to take. Now, I guess what you need to have though is actually an understanding of actually, well, what are the various solutions? Because RPA is very black and white, and there are a real set of rules around what RPA can do and what it can't. I would say, someone who kicked off my first RPA program almost a decade ago now, actually. These rules have been well defined. They've been written about. There's books that have got these rules written in. You can't necessarily say the same for the rest of that intelligent automation stack. The books, they're still to be written.
Yeah.
And so it is more complex to give a definitive answer on where do we go next. But I think that the key thing really is to think about what you have not been able to automate using RPA. Figure out what was the reason that you were unable to do that. And that usually gives you a good indication as to which of the next technologies you should be looking at. And then outside of that, the real step would again be to look externally, I would say, and start to think about an assessment, an intelligent automation focused assessment, not an RPA assessment. So if you're just doing what you've done before, you're going to come up with the same answer. So it's about doing something different. It's about looking through it with a different lens, and it's about increasing your internal skill set so that is the new norm.
Yeah.
If we think about for most people now, RPA and the process of RPA is becoming BAU in a lot of organizations. Intelligent automation is not about ripping the rule book. It's about adding the second, third, and fourth chapter to that rule book. And I think that's the step that a lot of our organizations are struggling with at the moment, is that they are unable to make that jump from rule book 1 to the second, third, and fourth chapter. But I think there is now a path to get there, and there are organizations that are on that journey. And quite a few of my customers are onto their second, third, and fourth technology in that stack. So absolutely possible, doable. And yeah, I think it's it's going to be a really interesting next kind of 3 to 5 years as that end-to-end digital worker with all of those capabilities starts coming.